Happy Friday, everybody. I'm Rick Lucio, and this is the Raymond George Engaged Report. This is my weekly report on Fridays at 11 a.m. As you can tell, it's late for anyone who is like, oh man, it wasn't on earlier. It's happening now. So as usual, this is a weekly report on a couple things that are going on. First of all, just to reiterate what it is that I do, that we do. Recruiting agencies, executive search firms, and the like will retain myself and our team to fill roles and get high level impact roles filled. You know, getting high level talent in search, in recruitment, a little bit of light sell side representation and buy side representation, M&A in there. Those are the things that I do, that we do at Raymond George Engaged Search. So that is the preamble. That's the new preamble. Item number one, role of the week. This is an executive search firm that is a client of ours that is searching for someone who is at that principal level, or just before that principal level, right? Where the principal is what you're aiming at, right? This is in New York, 2-3 days a week in the office, working on industrials. There's a great career path here that is, you'd be working directly, delivering roles on someone who is billing 1.5, 2 million, is getting promoted right now as we speak to associate partner. So you have a very clear sense of what your earnings can be, right? You know what book of business you're working on, and you'd be the main person leading delivery for it. You'd be the only other person commissioned on those roles that you're filling aside from the associate partner, right? So there's a lot of clarity on what this could mean for you, and I'm happy to get into that for anybody who's interested, but it's a bit of a rare seat. This isn't a job where it's just kind of like, come join blah company and see what happens, right? Like, this is very, very specific. We could, tell you what you're likely to be working on, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's a very exciting role. Again, New York City, 2 to 3 days in the office, some good flexibility there, great earnings potential, meteoric rise that you would be attaching yourself to that train. And if you perform well, this could be you in 4 or 5 years being an associate partner, pardon me. That was number one. Number two, I tend to work on recruiting tools and trainings on a regular basis. I do a lot of demos. Obviously, in my line of work, we like to be able to advise people on tools. I have been talking about our ongoing migration to Atlas, the ATS, and how great that has been going. And today, we finally migrated our data, just if anybody was following this journey, as I mentioned last week. And the data migration was really smooth and seamless, best I've ever been involved in. And they used some interesting tools like Notion to log tickets live, and just the communication was amazing. It was very smooth and quick. Now that the data is live, we are exploring their various kinds of search and what those things mean. And one of their functions is called the magic search, which is sort of an AI-enabled search, and how to use that and when to use it, etc. And sort of like what it looks at in terms of data. Great results, right? Everybody has an AI-enabled search for the data that's in your ATS. I have seen mixed reviews for what we do, which is rec to rec, because it is a little difficult to get adequate rec to rec info online. So what we need is for our meetings and the information from our meetings that the ATS note taker has transcribed to be able to search through that data to get the proprietary data that we are able to extract through our real relationships and conversations, and pivot that data to be able to make better searches quicker, yada, yada. Point is, it's working very well. So another reason why you maybe want to look at Atlas, feel free to hit me up if you're curious about how it's gone for us, why we chose Atlas over countless other potential ATSs in recruitment. Happy to have a chat about that anytime. Obviously, we're on our way to try to be Atlas super users. So if you have any other tips and tricks you want to share, happy to get into a conversation like that. Or even if you want to come on this Friday video that I do to talk about ATSs and to talk about Atlas, I would happily indulge that as well, and it would be very welcomed. Third item of business is sort of like on the market intel front. A lot of the people I get into conversations with, because of news headlines and just what you see in the market in general, are very interested in understanding and knowing how stable their job is. What's my job security like? What about the job security and the roles you're talking about, Rick? What does job security mean in recruitment? And listen, obviously there's a lot of factors out there. Nobody has a magic answer. I can tell you though that from a rec to rec perspective, I was trained by Julie Robinson and Jenny Finch, who run Raymond George and who've seen it from the side of being a hiring manager as well many times over, and a director and a VP and so on, and also as owners, what that question means from an owner perspective. And I've been trained to sort of talk people through things with that lens in mind. I am happy to get into a conversation with anybody who is working in recruitment or executive search and would like, for example, a comp review, or to see like, do you think that I'm in a secure position right now at this company in this market? I can only tell you from the formulas that we see that clients use and give you comparative examples. There's no hard yeses or nos here, but you could make a much more informed decision of, do you think that my compensation is fair? Should I be asking for a raise? I didn't get a raise. They changed my comp model. Am I being treated unfairly? Is it better elsewhere? There's a lot of this stuff that's happening. And that's another way that you could use a conversation with a rec to rec. It's not only when you want to change, it can also be like, what are you guys seeing? This is what happened here. What's your thought on it? And what are you seeing elsewhere, so that I can sort of make more informed decisions about whether I want to look or what I want to do internally. So just throwing it out there that I would highly recommend getting into these conversations with myself or any rec to rec who has access to that information, that benchmarking information, and can assess with what you're dealing with right now. Is it fair? Are you at the top end of what we're seeing in the market, the low end? What's realistic? What could you see elsewhere? And what do you have to do to actually get to those next levels of compensation or of responsibility? Again, happy to have those calls, and I hope to see you all next week.